Hello everyone, welcome to this short video on 5 tips for successful events. I'm Sham, I'm the founder of Eventsmastery and one of the trainers for this program on how to manage corporate events successfully. All right, let's get started. So we are talking about events management process. So before I share the 5 tips, let me just show you this slide which shows you the events management process, a simplified version of an events management process. Now, it doesn't matter whether your event is short, long duration, whether it's a simple or whether it's a complex event, whether it's virtual or whether it's a physical event. All events has to go through an events management process. So this comes to my first tip. Apply project management skills to events management. So what do I mean by that? What I'm saying is that you should look at events as a project. Okay, take your event as a project because events has a start, also has an end, it has a duration, a time length. Why do we recommend using project-based approach or what we call systematic approach to events? Firstly, these are some of the benefits, but very briefly, when you think of an event as a project, you're actually giving it a systematic approach to your events. All right, systematic as in there's a step 1, step 2, step 3. There are certain flow for your events, okay, actions, timeline, just like a project. Okay, you have critical path, not so critical path, start date, end date. Okay, it gives you a systematic approach so that it's easier for you to manage the event. And when you do that, you are also actually depersonalizing the event. Okay, when I say depersonalizing means this is not just your event, it's a team's event, it's everybody's event. Events is never alone, okay? You work in a team. So when you depersonalize, you actually pass on responsibility and accountability to other team members. You let them know what they're supposed to do, what actions, by when, okay, who to do what. So you're actually depersonalizing the event from yourself, because a lot of times what happened in the past with some of the events, successful events, are not able to be repeated because the person running it takes it as a personal event, and when the person leaves, it's gone. Okay, and the next person that comes on is not able to repeat the success, right? Because it was never in the system, it was never documented, and it was like somebody's baby, a personal event. But anyway, back to this. So having this approach helps you to depersonalize, and it also gives a clear communication to all the team members of what they're supposed to do. Okay, ensure accountability. And this is important, visibility of event planning. As we know, the events, you see it on site, whether it's virtual or on site, but all things that happen before that is not really visible to a person's eye. Okay, it's all a lot of times in your mind, unless you put things down into a system, into a plan. Okay, then you can see it happening from start, you see it taking place, taking shapes, and finally to on site. Okay, you see the visibility of event planning. Of course, when you put things into system using a project-based approach, you also facilitate training to making sure that all your team members are properly trained, okay, and you're able to see who is not able to function or perform well, and that you take certain actions. And you also develop transferable skills, okay, from yourself as a team leader or from one staff to another staff. And even if the staff leaves the company, all right, the skills are transferable because everything is in the system, everything is documented. Okay, and therefore you will have a diverse body of knowledge because you, as a team member, for this event this year you might be playing this role, or for next year you could be playing another role in that for that event. Okay, so you will learn to pick up new skills and to have a diverse body of knowledge. So these are some of the benefits of project-based approach. So if you come for the workshops, we will actually take you through this 9 process. So now I'm going to talk about tip number 2, 5W2H approach to events management. Yes, you got it. What, why, when, where, who, how, and how much. Okay, we actually apply this for our events. Okay, why? Okay, this is one of the tips that will actually help to make sure your events are successful. Because when you apply this 5W2H, which is a simple and powerful concept, it actually helps managers to plan and manage their events successfully because it helps them to think through their decisions and the consequences of their decisions to be made during the planning stage. Now, all these things happen at planning stage. Okay, planning is critical for events. It also helps managers to manage. So what you have planned, By using this 5W2H, you can now apply to implementation and control stage. 5W2H, because we find that a lot of time when managers, when event managers run events, a lot of time it's based on their gut feeling or or what they think is right, and sometimes they don't, especially in the team, as a team, your members do not think through of whatever decisions they make or the consequences of that decision. What are the consequences? Let's say if I don't do this now, okay, if you look at the project management again, if I don't do this now, and if this action is on the critical path, it will affect the other actions down the road. So sometimes they are not able to think of the consequences of not doing something, right? So this, when you use this 5W2H, it actually helps you to think through your decisions. At strategic level, some of the questions you will ask is, especially when you're doing your concept planning in your research, what kind of events do you want? Now, why are we doing this event? What's our objectives? And when do you want to do this? Okay, which month, which time of the year? Where do you want to? Is this going to be virtual or is this going to be physical? And who are the parties involved? Who are we targeting? Of course, you also need to look at how are we going to achieve this objective and how much budget or how much returns can we get back. So this is at strategic level. But when you ask these questions, the key thing is you must ask these questions so that you can actually plan. It helps you to think through what you need to plan. Now at action tactical level, some of the things you might be asking, for example, your scoping. Okay, what activities, what things that we need to do, and why do we need to do those things? Okay, by when we need to do those things, where, and who is going to take charge of it, who's responsible? Okay, and how are you going to do it? All right, and how much each of this costs? Okay, and control level. Now, even though this is control level, you still have to do this at the planning stage. Okay, you have to ask yourself what are critical things that you need to control, especially those actions on the critical path. Okay, why do you need to control them? Okay, where are your deadlines? Now, sometimes you cannot monitor or control everything, so you need to pick up key things that you need to control. So when you ask these questions, you are able to see more clearly. And you put more thoughts to your decisions. All right, who is responsible, how, and such. Okay, 5W2H. Now let's move on to tip number 3, documentations and checklists, which is actually a requirement or part of the requirement if you treat an event as a project. Okay, you must always have your documentation and checklist because these are very important. Okay, and some documents are key, which I'm going to share with you in this video. So what kind of documentations or checklists that you need to prepare? Now it looks a lot, right? But this is what we do when we do scoping. Okay, scoping, which means in one event, what are all the areas we need to look into? Now, action plan is a live document. Planning, all right, even though we say you do in the beginning in the cycle, but planning is a continuous exercise throughout the entire project life cycle. Okay, planning doesn't stop just because you went into implementation, because most of the time, whatever you plan may not work out and you need to adapt, amend, change your plan as you go along. Okay, so that's why action plan is a live document. It's not dead. Okay, you keep amend, keep changing. And one of the way to help you to do that is to ask the 5W2H. So putting an action plan, why do we want a document or checklist on a document on action plan? Because if you are the project leader, the action plan actually helps you to manage and monitor the 5W2H. Okay, when you have an action plan, you actually list out, okay, what needs to be done, who is doing that, when will that happen, okay, how much is this going to cost, all in one piece of paper. Okay, your action plan. And you as a project leader, in just that sheet of paper, you are able to see exactly how this is going to be done, who is going to do it, what, when, etc. Right? You don't have to keep asking, hey, who's doing that? Hey, how come this not done? Okay, so you can just see that and use that big sheet of action plan for you to guide, lead, and monitor throughout the event. Okay, you also use that as a tool to communicate with your team members. So the action plan actually gives you all the information at a glance. Right, big picture. You see, as a project leader, when you do projects, you have to look at things from the top, helicopter view, the big picture. And at the same time, you need to zoom into the details. Okay, this is another important document that we always have for our events. okay, about what we call an operation checklist, or some might call it a rundown sheet. Okay, basically it lists out everything that happens for your event, not for the planning stage, but at implementation stage, the pre-event, on-site, and post-event. Example of operation checklist. This is a very simple example. For example, at what time, what to action, who is the person doing it, who is the person in charge. You might have a leader for each area, and then who's the person helping, and any remarks, for example. Okay, this is a very simple checklist. This is a time-based checklist, especially when it comes to your staff doing many things at different time. Okay, for example, time-based, at what time this staff A is doing this, and then at this time he and she is doing this. So this your staff will also know what they have to do at what time. All right, a very useful tool. So, and this also helps you to make sure that there's no clashes, as if B cannot be doing this at the same time, at this time, and then doing something else at the same time. All right. This is a slightly more complicated checklist where you actually put in program what the MC is talking about, when the lights comes on, when the music comes on, if you need to give out handouts and others. All right, now we have come to tip number 4. Please do your potential problem analysis, or what we call PPA. Now, this is a very powerful events management or event managers tool, planning tool, because it can kill or save your event, right? So what is PPA? Now, many event managers will look at this and say, oh, it's a contingency planning. We do this all the time. But PPA is not just about plan B. Okay, PPA has a step before that. It looks at more powerful than just having plan B, but also what can you do to prevent it from happening. If you can prevent it, okay, at the same time, you have a plan B. So it's double protection. Okay. So when we run a PPA, when we look into PPA, we're actually looking into the risk factor and the probability of it happening. And if it happens, how serious it is. Okay, probability, how likely the event will occur. Seriousness, to what degree it could impact your time, cost, and quality, or the success of your event. Okay, this is very important. The chances of this happening, okay, if it's very serious, that means if it happened and it's very serious, what do you need to do? Is it something that you can plan and prevent it from happening in the first place? And as we know, even though we plan for everything, things can still go wrong. So, and if it happens and if it's serious, what are the contingency plans that we will have to put in place? So it's double protection, because many times event managers will look into contingency plan B, but they never think about, can we do something to prevent it in the first place? Okay, you are reducing your risk when you do that. Okay, so you need to look at preventive and contingency. So when we run the PPA operations meeting, okay, these are the steps that you need to do to identify. First, you have to review your critical areas, because you remember you have all your scoping. So you need to see, okay, what are the critical areas? Okay, what are the potential problems that can happen in that area? Once you identify that, you have to look at your PS ratio. For example, in our workshop, we actually do a lot of this PPA, and to the extent of actually having more simulated events, so that they actually learn PPA, because we feel that this is really, really critical. Okay, so for example, like, I mean, now it's a raining season. Every day it's raining heavy. Is venue a potential problem? As in, let's say I'm doing this at the hotel. Okay, we're having this at a ballroom which is at the basement. Okay, what is the chance of the basement being flooded during this time? That's a potential problem. So you ask yourself, what is the probability of that happening? I mean, most of us will say low, but it might still happen. I mean, it has happened, seriously happened before. So if it happens, will it be serious? Yes? No? Okay. So if the probability of it happening is low, but if it really happens, it can be really serious. Do you want to do something about it? Yes? No? So you ask yourself, can you prevent this from happening? What are the steps you can do to prevent? If you have a choice, you can move away from basement. Okay, but if it's not a choice, then what are the contingency or plan B if it really happens? Okay, think about this. Okay, now if the probability of it happening is really high, okay, for example, you're going to have an event outdoor and it's rainy season, okay, so the rain will come. The probability of the rain coming is very high. Now, if it happens, is it serious? Yes, everybody get wet. So what are you going to do? Can you prevent it from happening? Okay, what are the things you can do to prevent the rain from coming? It's possible. Okay, and if it still comes, the rain still comes because your prevention actions not good enough. Okay, if the rain still comes, what are your contingents? Umbrella, maybe standby, shelter, whatever. Okay, so you need to think of it. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to take actions for every P&S, every potential problem that might happen. Because if your probability is low and it's not very serious, or even if your probability is like medium, but if it happens, it's not so serious, then maybe you might want to just ignore it. Okay, because you can't be doing everything. You can't be taking planning for everything that can go wrong. All right, we do our best to identify the critical ones. Okay, so you come up with your preventive and your contingent plans. Okay, so because of, and therefore we felt that this is one of the very important tips for event manager. Of course, I say if you come to our workshop, then we actually really take you through this this process, because I know it's not easy to understand when you're exposed to this idea for the first time. Okay, we are now at tip number 5. You really have to look into the latest trends and technologies in place that will help you for more effective communication, to help you to brand your events, to promote market events, or to manage your events more effectively. So it's very important for you to be updated with the latest trends and technologies, especially when it comes to communication, because the core of any business is your customers, and the core of any event is your participants. Okay, so what are you using to communicate with them, to share your message, to promote to them? So technologies is one of the things that you need to look into. Social media, for example, there's so many in the market. Okay, which should you use? Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, WhatsApp, and a few more other new ones. It also depends on your customers, your audience. Okay, where are they? Are they mainly the older generation on Facebook, or the professionals on LinkedIn, or are they the younger generation on IG, Instagram, TikTok, or whatever? Okay, so these are things you need to look into, because you need to be where your customers are. Most of the time when we need to look for something, for example, if I want to attend, I'm looking for a workshop on branding, for example, okay? Besides asking your friends or people that you know, where else do you go to? Yes, you ask Mr. Google. Okay, you type branding workshops in Kuala Lumpur, and pop, it comes up. XYZ events is running this workshop in near your area. Okay, and you scroll and see ABC events, but you are MNO. I don't see MNO, so I can't find you. So do you think I will attend your event? No, I have no idea about your event. So the question is, can your customers find you? So this is one of the reasons why Google is very important, because customers these days search for you. Okay, it's not the other way. So you need to look into Google. Do you not want to consider paid ads? Do you want to consider SEO, or search engine optimization? Okay, which is more organic. In the long run, SEO might be more effective, but in short run, okay, paid ads are what you need to look for. Okay, so these are some of the trends that you need to consider for your events. Okay, there are many others. Can your mobile apps does all these things for you? Helps you to connect with your audience. Then you need to look into now the new norms in events. Okay, because of the pandemic, we are all pushed into this, whether we want it or not. Virtual events, everywhere virtual events, and now it's moving into hybrid, because as we go back into our face-to-face physical events, at the same time we combine with the virtual events, it becomes what we call hybrid events. Okay, this is probably something that's going to stay for the next few years and might be the new norm in events. So if you are in events or you plan to events, you can't ignore all these happenings. Okay, online registration system has been around for many years. So if you're not using that, you're still doing your manual, please, you really need to look into this. And of course, other events management system in place to help you with your backroom operation, because events is a very, used to be very manpower based, but with the help of technology, you can actually cut down or save on a lot of manpower at the same time. It makes your backroom work faster. Okay, more effective, and possible less errors. Okay, so you have to look into all this technology to help you with your events. Okay, the question you probably want to ask yourself is, are you leveraging on available systems and technologies for your events? So these are the 5 tips that I have prepared for you. So as I say, we have our event management workshop. So if you are really interested in going to events, do take a look at our program. Okay, you can come to our Eventsmastery booth, which is actually the main booth on the first page. All right, and talk to our staff to find out more about this program. Okay, we also have a booklet which we will give out to our students on planning and marketing your events. And we do have upcoming 2-day workshop on how to manage corporate events successfully. And one of the bonus we're putting in is that there'll be extra session on managing virtual events. I have a team of trainers, and so we will cover this, and of course you will get your free booklet. Okay, so email us or refer to our website for the next workshop dates and the promotions that we are running for you. Thank you. Happy event management. Bye.